autistic journey within IBM. My name's Andrew Williams, and I'm the Ignite ASD Global Leader. And over the next 40 minutes, we're going to be celebrating how IBM has embarked on a pretty major initiative to embrace our own autistic diversity, and we've called it Ignite ASD. This session will outline the steps we took to set up Ignite ASD in IBM Lansing, and more importantly, why we did it, and more importantly, how you can do it too. And that's something I want to emphasise with you. I will then hand over to Ingrid Weiss, who will give an insider's view of this program, and then also Nancy Silver from AHOL, who will describe the impact of engaging individuals on the spectrum firsthand and what's it meant to her own enterprise. So let's go back to that video that you just saw. It's a 3-minute snippet of a larger documentary which will be shown in full later on. It's called When Neurodiversity Works, and it really encapsulates the impact that this program, which has been running for a year now, has had on the 6 individuals that we've engaged as full-time employees within IBM. But before we go any further, I just want to start at the beginning. In 2016, I was doing a lot of work within IBM, test optimization, working with cognitive capabilities, designing, developing, and it was very enriching. But then I met this fellow, Thorkel Song, the founder and chairman of Specialistin Foundation. How many people here have heard of Specialistin? Okay, just a few. So he challenged me in this late night conversation. He said, "Did you know you're neurotypical? And can you imagine the challenges of being neuroatypical would be, especially around the job? Would you have the job that you have today if you're neuroatypical?" And he described to me the everyday challenges of being autistic and the limited job opportunities people had if they were on the spectrum. And finally, he also proposed to me a plan that he had already going forward to help autistic individuals achieve full-time employment by helping them getting beyond those barriers that they have. Well, it made a lot of sense to me. And it seemed like a really good fit for my area because I was doing testing services, and people who are on the spectrum would be very much suited for that particular area. But he also reminded me of an individual. So that individual was Indigo. So Indigo is a daughter of a ex-IBMer I used to know. Well, I still do. And Indigo was diagnosed with hypothyroidism and hypotonia at the age of 18 months and autism 6 months later. And Indigo is non-verbal, and she's very reliant on others for most of her self-care. And she's not really able to cope with crowds and noises. And while she does have the ability to speak, she prefers not to. She's selectively mute. But she does have talents. She has a preference for maths, geography, and she understands rudimentary Spanish, French, and Indonesian through her iPad. So I think most people in this room know of an individual like Indigo, maybe via a friend or a family member or more directly. Individuals may not be as impacted as Indigo. They might be on a different place in the spectrum. You can be in many different places. But a lot of individuals have challenges, especially around gaining employment. Another ex-IBMer of mine asked me, he has a daughter who's on the spectrum and is 30. And he said to me, what's her future after I'm no longer able to help her due to my own age and I'm going into retirement? So, given all that, let's go back to Thorkel and his proposal. And he was right. I had to do something. So I decided to do something within IBM, set up a program. We eventually called it Ignite ASD. It was that simple. You just make a decision. We set up a specific aim to create why not 300 jobs within IBM by 2020? We set up an aspiration, but the question was, how was I going to achieve that? How was I going to do that? Well, I reached out to other people who were interested in this sort of thing. People in America, Japan, Australia. I connected with people who were also interested. People like Laurie Brickley, Shalini in IBM Lansing, Paul Austin in Poughkeepsie. They all had interest. In fact, Paul Austin had been going down this journey for quite a while. And collectively, we decided to set up a program which would ensure employment of individuals on the spectrum within IBM. And we started working on it. This is about 3 years ago. And we started to work with Specialiston, who helped us through the recruitment process and employ local and deliver spectrum talent to our clients. That was the objective, really. So Specialiston was really helping us with the recruitment process, training us on how to go through that process, something that we didn't have any skills in. So in 2017, we kicked off this recruitment process in IBM Lansing. And we developed a very comprehensive program covering the recruitment process for IBM Lansing. And we received about 80 resumes from the local autistic community in the Michigan area. And we down selected 10 and we got them in for interviews. This took about 4 weeks, and at the same time, we started running IBM staff awareness workshops to bring teams in Lansing up to speed on the work environment needs of individuals on the spectrum. So there was a lot of education going on. We were doing education with the recruits, and we were also getting together with our own teams. So we had to make sure that the ASD team members would not only get through the recruitment process, which they always had a problem with, challenge, but they would also have a long-term engagement within the workplace. So that was a very important factor as well. So now I can happily say that we have 6 individuals like Ingrid hired in IBM Lansing. They're very new IBMers, and they're working in some of our clients, our whole state of Florida, and we've started recruitment in Australia. So now that we've got Lansing up and running, we've got Australia going, we've got programs now progressing in Canada, in the infrastructure area, Brazil, and Argentina. They're still in the planning stages. Australia is started the recruitment process similar to what Lansing did a year ago, only last month. And we're progressing. We're progressing the program, but carefully. This is people's lives. And we don't get any second chances with this type of program within an organisation like IBM or any other organisation. So I want to emphasise, this is not a story just for IBM. I challenge everyone in this room. If you're in an enterprise, an organisation, it really just takes you to decide to initiate your own autistic journey in your own company. It's not that hard. It just takes time. And you'd be surprised at how people will get behind the idea and really progress it. I'm happy to give guidance outside this anytime. So.